Alrighty. Okay. All right, welcome to the Plague Hive. If anybody's already watching, give me a shout out if you can hear me okay. Hi there. Yeah, I could tell that you were picking up your phone, man. All right, let's just switch over to Talishar and jump straight into it. This is gonna be some games with the list that basically was the result from the games that I played with Tom on the weekend. So unfortunately, sorry for you, Ollie. There's no contracts in this, apart from, you know, the usual suspects. So let's see what we get. Okay, we got a Bravo. Why am I getting so many Bravos recently? Crazy. All right. So yeah, a Bravo is still full stack. Just run everything. Good to go. Don't want him to fatigue you. We are gonna run, since we're not on Graven Coal, we're gonna run Scale Peeler and Spider's Bite, and then potentially cycle out the Scale Peeler at some point with Concealed Blade for a Nerf Scalpel. We are running Chrono Providence. That's one of the upsides of not running contracts. We have access to that. And they're making me go first, which is interesting. Because usually I think that's a matchup where Bravo wants to go first just for the potential high roll. So, yeah, just don't lose. Yeah, that's a... thanks. Very, very nice. That's a good idea. Okay, so they're on Civic Steps, Tech Plating, I guess, and they're on Balance of Justice, which is interesting. I suppose they're running a list that only has balance. I am gonna Dagger here just to, you know, maybe get some chip damage in. Okay, they're just straight up blocking that. I don't hate getting the E-Strike out of their hand, because that's a potential extender that they can use to send some extra damage my way. So they could do like E-Strike into Anathos or something. That's not so bad. I think I'm kind of fine with the rest of this hand. I have Give and Take. Actually, I'm gonna send Give and Take here just because it doesn't have any targets, so it's kind of worthless. But I want to have that in the late game, so I'm gonna send that to the bottom right now. Just to cycle that. He's probably gonna give me another card here just to not leak any damage. He's not. Okay, so he probably has something decent. And now I'm just gonna pass and Arsenal the Inertia Trap. So we have a D-React in Arsenal. We have another D-React here. Pretty good. Looking for a scrap, unfortunately, isn't live. But that's honestly not horrible. Okay, he's just sending nice Anothos for 6. And he's trying to set up an Arsenal so we can punish him with the Inertia Trap here. Then we can do just, I guess we just send a Sensor, pitching the Looking for a Scrap. We set up another Arsenal, and then we can keep the CNC for a further turn cycle. Because when he doesn't have an Arsenal, the CNC doesn't really do anything, so I think we're fine here. We could block with the CNC, just to not leak any damage. But I think I'd rather have that in hand, because it's one of the bigger threats in this matchup. Actually, no, let's play efficient. Let's give him the CNC. We also get one into the graveyard. It's not horrible. Yep. Let's play efficient, not leak any damage. I think that's also kind of relevant for this matchup. Just block when you can, right? Because they are going to send dominated attacks at you at some point. And then you won't be able to, you know, fully cover those. So I think it's worth just blocking when you have the option of blocking, basically. So yeah, I think this is fine. Now we just send a sensor. We pitched this, and now depending on if they block this and how they block this, this gives us a couple of hints about what their hand might be. Because if they just keep like the 4-card hand here, right? I'm tempted to name something like Starstruck or Crippling Crush. Okay, so he gives me 1 card, which tells me he's probably going for another cycle of tech plating into Anathos, setting up an arsenal. And I don't think there's a lot I can do about that, because that just enables pitching. And I don't think he's on the, like... Yeah, what do I name here? It's actually a good question, because like there's not a whole lot that Bravo can do with like 2 to 3 cards that's actually threatening. I mean, it's a red, so he might go for something like Spinal Crush. That's a 2-card play. He could do like tech plating into Spinal Crush. And then the extra red doesn't do anything for him, because that's not necessarily something he wants in Arsenal. I think I'm gonna name Spinal Crush here. But that's honestly just a guess out of the blue. Just based on that he's keeping 3 cards. I think what he's gonna do is like tech plating into Anathos. And then the rest of the turn is just gonna be that. So, okay, he's Aura Bravo again. All right, so he set him up a Blessing of Deliverance here. Okay, all right. So he's drawing a card because of that. And then he's tech plating, and that's his turn. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Well, I mean, we do have the CNC pummel here. It's actually lining up quite nicely, to be honest. We can't dagger in front of it, unfortunately. That would be like the dream. But I think what I can do is I just keep the tunic and I just go CNC pummel, and then I can pitch the Leave No Witnesses to that. So yeah, sure, I'm down. Let's go. Let's go, baby. I could swap it in, right? But I think like backstab into CNC is essentially the same as CNC face up. And yeah. I think this is fine. And if I swapped it in, I would have to use Tunic, right? I do run Oasis, so I like to kind of sit on my Tunic in case I draw up an Oasis, right? Okay, he's blocking 6. Very nice. And now we do get to pummel him. It's been a while since I've done that. Oof. That is huge. And he had a staunch response in Arsenal. Nice. So we did play around the D-Reacts. Lovely. We leaked some damage. We still have the D-React in Arsenal. Very nice. Now all of his stuff is popping. He's getting... What was that? That's 1, 2, 3 life, I think, right? Yep. Kind of annoying. Not much we can do about that. And he just ends the turn and then Arsenal. So I think this is like a very defensive Bravo, right? He's running Blessing of Deliverance. He's running some auras. He's running red staunch response at least. Let's see. I don't think I can cleanly do this. I can't clear my Arsenal, so I can't use the Codex here. So I think what I'm gonna do is Scale Peeler and then isolate Death Touch and just sit on the Codex. Or I could even double dagger. Yeah, I think I'll just double dagger here. Just be clean. Seems better. And then bottoming the first codex is generally a good idea in this matchup anyways. Potentially even the second codex, depending on how defensive and grindy they like to play it. Okay, and in this situation, if you have these two, you always want to start with the scale peeler, right? Because if you start with the spider's bite, and then you come in with the scale peeler, they can block that with an attack, and then you don't get any daggers. And this way it's like less clean for them to block it, basically. So this hand is like, ideally we wanted to have an extender here, right? Because this hand is like 4 card for like 8 damage, which is not amazing. It's probably gonna dereact here. Yep, there's a sink, sure. That's honestly alright. I mean, it's still a 2 card block worth for him, so it's like a little eh. But even if that was an attack, still would have been a 2 card block, so. I think that's okay. And we got the codex on the bottom, so that's alright. Okay. They're just setting up another blessing, probably swinging Anathos here, making a surging. Yep, Anathos for 6. So this hand blocks decently well. I don't hate that. I'm just gonna block for 6 here. I think I'm just tempted to block with the Amnesias just because they don't do anything in this matchup. I could dagger, but is it worth? I don't think it's worth leaking an extra 3 just to dagger. Obviously, if I had a blue, this hand would be a lot better because I could just go like dagger sensor. And this way it just doesn't do that. But I think I'm happy blocking 6 with the Amnesia just because it doesn't do anything here. Apart from, yeah, no, it just straight up doesn't do anything. So I'm just going to block 6. And then just play out the sensor. And bottom the already dead for the late game. Reason they're being already dead is an assassin attack. I'm gonna have shreds on the bottom of my deck at the end for the most likely. So it's nice to have big assassin attacks on the bottom of your deck to go with your isolates because you can still shred them after the fact. And sensor isn't shreddable, so. Okay, he's letting that through. So he does have a seismic. He has a 3 card hand with an arsenal. And he's not dereacting that. I think, just to be safe, I'm naming crippling here. And maybe he doesn't have it, and then that's okay. But this is definitely a hand where he could go just dominate Crippling Crush. If he has like 3 blues and the Crippling in Arsenal, that is absolutely something he can do. Okay, he has another 3 life from the Blessing. Kind of annoying, and he's going Dominate, and then it's probably Starstruck. That's Disable, okay, that's kind of interesting. Dominated Disable is honestly not scary. Let's see. I think I'm tempted to cash in the Oasis here just so I'm efficient with the Tunic use. And then I can do Leave No and then Shred it. So I'm blocking with the Already Dead here. And I'm just keeping the Fate Foreseen in Arsenal. Yeah, that seems good. Okay, sure. That works. Yep. Not hating that. So I'm gonna go block with Already Dead. And he can't pummel me here because he has nothing floating. That's fine. We use Oasis and then Oasis on the disable. Just be efficient with your resources. Because the other option would be to block with the Fate here and then Arsenal the Oasis, right? But that way we get our Tunic resource back like a turn earlier if I do it like this. So it's just a cleaner way of blocking this. Okay, then we go leave no. He does have an Arsenal, so he's 100% blocking this. I'm just really hoping he blocks it with either the Gauntlets or Civic Steps so I can shred those and just get rid of them. But it's probably either a D-React to just cleanly cover it, or he just goes like 2-card block, maybe even just blocking it for 6. Could be an option. He's definitely blocking it though. Okay, so he's blocking for 4. So I'm thinking he probably has another D-React here, but I'm honestly not too worried about trading a shred for a D-React. He's smart though, he gave me the Battle Worn equipment, so the shred doesn't kill the temper here. Yep, he does have the D-React. That's okay, honestly. So we know he's on Fates, he's on Staunch Response, he's on Sinks. The question is he also on Blue Staunch? I would think he's probably on Blue Staunch. And the fact that he's running Blessing of Deliverance makes me think he's probably also on at least Blue Unmovable. So I would not be surprised to see those here. So this is like an extremely grindy Bravo list. We're going to have to work a bit for our win here. All right, tech plating, sure. Kind of annoying that we're seeing all these looking for scraps without having targets for them. Maybe I should have been a little more conscious about blocking with those, because I run like a lot of blue stealth cards. I'm on 11 blue stealth cards currently. So it's kind of annoying that those are not really lining up. But yeah, you know, sometimes that just happens. So let's see what we do here. We can bottom the looking for a scrap. It's honestly not terrible. And then Codex of Bloodrot here also isn't amazing. Simply because I already have an Arsenal and I don't really want to use it on the Anathos here. He might pummel me here, but I don't think he has a pummel in Arsenal. So if he does, we can still cover that up with the Fate Foreseen. So I'm thinking of, how do I block this? I don't want to just take 6. That feels kind of wrong, honestly. Yeah, but I don't want to block with the looking for a scrap either. Yeah, like, I mean, it can line up, right? Like, you just have to run enough blue stealth cards, so it's typically fine for it to line up. Yeah, I think I have to take 6 here, because I'm not block. I don't want to block with any of these. I want to send Shakedown, and then like just hope he doesn't have another D-React. Also, actually, that sounds like sort of a bad plan, to be honest. Because I'm like 100% sure he has another D-React. So I think what I'm going to do here is not do anything. Like, I'm just going to take 6 still. That's fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to double dagger. Yeah, I'm going to dagger and yeah, double dagger and then Shakedown with the Codex of Bloodrot. I think that's fine. So either he just takes 6, and that's okay, or he just blocks 6. He seems like the guy to just block 6 on a Shakedown, because he doesn't know what I have in Arsenal, right? Could be a shred. To be fair, if he's smart, he's seen me play the shred from hand instead of from Arsenal, so I think he's probably pretty confident that I don't have a shred in Arsenal right now. Let's see. Is he still there? Let's see. Okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and just wait a little bit. But might be that he just timed out and we do not get to finish this game. Unfortunate. But what can you do? So I think this is kind of like the extremely grindy fatigue Bravo. Which is interesting because that's like the third variation of Bravo that we would have had on this show, right? The first one we had was like the Aura Bravo setup style. Second one was the, I would say, like mid-rangey, kind of aggressive Bravo. They just try to send like big ass dominated attacks at you, right? And then this would be like the extremely slow, grindy fatigue kind of Bravo. Though it's interesting that if he's doing that game plan, he's on Anathos, right? I would put like the really grindy ones to be normally on like Titan's Fist, and then run like another shield for just extra health, right? Just like the Temper 2 shield. Okay, so I don't think he's doing anything here. Let's just send him another message, and if he doesn't respond, I'm just gonna claim victory here and just start another game. And maybe we get something that's not a Bravo. Would also be interesting. Okay, yeah, I don't think he's coming back, so just gonna claim victory here. And then we just go straight back into it. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we get here. Okay, so for anyone who hasn't seen this deck yet, if you wanna like get the general theory behind it, like why it's configured the way it is, I would recommend you watch the stream that I did with Tom on Saturday, where we were trying out the Prism matchup and just figuring out how to beat that. And this is kind of like, and we get a Prism, perfect. So we get to test that theory now. So we go first. I think that hasn't changed. And let's send him an hello. Hello there. And Prism is one of the matchups that I've actually prepared the sideboard for. So we can just do that. And then we run these. We do run the time skippers here, obviously. Balance of Justice. We run Spiders by Nerf Scalpel. And a clean 60. You just want to pressure them as much as possible. And yeah, we go first because we don't want them to have like a free setup, right? And then you just have to be careful that you end your turn on an attack that has go again. Because if you don't, they can just take whatever damage you're sending their way and then set up an aura at instant speed. And that's kind of like, obviously not your ideal usage of cards, right? Like you want them to not have anything. So now I'm presented with an interesting dilemma here, because this is sort of a similar situation that I had against Tom on the stream. I have Isolate, CNC, and Shred in my opening hand, which basically means I can force 6 damage on them, and they're on a Vestige plan, which means this is essentially Tom's deck, probably plus or minus a couple of cards, but the general game plan is going to be very similar to that. So I think what I do here is I try to force damage. I just force 6 damage on them, and I take the roughly 50-50 chance that they might have an aura in their starting hand. And I just, you know, take it. And that seems okay for me. So we're going to go Isolate. I do think taking an extra 6 on them that they can't really do anything about unless they have Soul Shield in their opening hand is honestly pretty massive. So we react here. The fact that they're not blocking at all tells me they probably have the soul shield. Yep, there it is. Okay. That's honestly alright. They're pitching an Arclight Sentinel. I'm not hating that. It does mean they don't get an aura, so it's fine. I still get to push 3 damage on them because I do have the shred. And I got rid of one of their soul shields, so I don't hate this. This would be even better if this was already dead, because now I'm hitting them and then I could banish the soul shield and it doesn't actually go to their soul. So the thing about soul shield is you have to sort of calculate the matchup in the way that they're gonna get 3 soul no matter what. They're always going to get their soul shields. And I get 2 looking for scraps, great. So yeah. Sometimes looking for a scrap is not with you. It just happens that way sometimes. And there's not really much you can do about that. So this is a War Tune Herald. For 5, we don't have a Pauper here. They do have Go Again. Yeah, maybe Wither would have been better. And then keep the Isolate in the arsenal. Fair. That's a decent point. So my problem right now is that my hand kind of does nothing unless I let this connect. So I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm going to block this with a Concealed Blade and a Looking for a Scrap, even though that sucks. But I think I have to. I'm not letting that hit. And if they have the what's it called? Wrath, they have it. But you know, they don't have it, so I'm fine. And yeah, the fact that they send the blue Herald first kind of tells me that they don't have anything else to follow it up. Otherwise, they would start with like the yellow or red Herald, right? Okay, so they're setting up a Pierce Reality. So I'm not making the same mistake that I made last time. So what I'm doing is I am attacking them with a dagger with the surgical, and then I attack the Pierce. I'm not letting that sit around. So I just dagger their face, pitch the surgical, and probably now Talishar is bugged again, and I don't get to keep that, which sucks. And then I don't have anything for the Looking for a Scrap, so let's see if that actually works or not. So obviously they're not blocking this, they're just taking 1 here. We do let them keep a 5-card hand, which is kind of annoying, but I think Pierce Reality just absolutely has to die ASAP. I think I've reprioritized that, to be honest. Yeah, great, it's still bugged. Yeah, I don't think we can play this here, honestly, because if we have Looking for a Scrap in the arsenal right now, and that doesn't do anything... That's actually really annoying. So yeah, I mean I can arsenal the Looking for a Scrap here, and then maybe we get a maybe we get something like a blue stealth card and that we can just block with, and then it's okay. But that is really annoying, because normally I would have like the Wither in graveyard right now, right? Because I used it to pop an aura. And then I have that as fodder for the Looking for a Scrap, and I have Tunic coming up, so that's actually pretty good. Normally this is like a chain of events that I would be okay with. Because I have like the Guaranteed Extender. Yeah, now I have Isolate, and I can't block with that because that's my follow-up, right? So like this turn is basically just go... yeah, it's just gone. Yeah. Yeah, like this bug basically makes this matchup borderline unplayable actually, right? Because at least with this list. Because like looking for a scrap is like the prime thing that I do. And I can't use it here. And that's really annoying. So, okay, they're just setting up a merciful and a passing. Okay, so they just do double aura. So I think this is actually kind of okay. Because we can't pop now. But it also kind of doesn't matter. Because we can't pop and then the merciful kind of doesn't really do anything. So we can just kind of ignore that, I think. Because normally the annoying thing about merciful is that it doesn't let you pop, right? Because then the poppers go to soul. But if I can't pop anyways, you know, Bob's your uncle. It doesn't do anything. Okay, so let's see. I think my play here is go looking for a scrap. Okay. So I guess we just kind of... I don't know how you do that. Honestly. So I'm just gonna try to sort of do that. And it's sort of annoying. I don't know how to do that actually. Like even with manual mode, I don't think that works, right? I think even with manual mode, I can't give an attack go again, can I? Because I would want to start with looking for a scrap here, right? At Prism, obviously, and then we pitch the isolate, and I just can't pay the extra. Yeah, this is really annoying. Yeah, probably. Okay, so he's cool about it. That's nice. So we go into manual mode. And then I add an AP to myself. That's fine. And I don't think he's blocking this. I can't directly edit the power of it. So I'll just see if he blocks. So he is not blocking this, I think. Resolution step, sure. Yeah, okay, so I just lower his life total by 1. Subtracting life from your opponent is not allowed. Okay, so he has to kind of do this. That's kind of annoying. So hang on. To go manual and lower your life. If anyone's wondering why I'm making like weird hand gestures, my cat is currently sitting on my table. Say hello, Sagan. Hi. So I think he's just trying to figure out how to do manual mode and stuff. Oh, he's on iPad. Okay, whatever. We're just gonna let the 1 life go. Aye, aye, aye. Yeah, we'll just try to remember he's 1 lower than he actually is, so I should be fine. Okay, so I do have an action point here, so I can just continue playing. So we follow that up with a give and take at his face. So this turn is pretty good. Like, this is pretty aggressive, right? And then we can go Tunic CNC to finish it off. He's probably still not blocking this. Yep. Quite willing to take some damage here. And now we just finish that off with a CNC also at his face. Again, I think if he plays both of these, passing and merciful, I'm fine just letting those stick around because they kind of do the same thing. And at this point, I'm just not popping anymore, right? Like, that's just off the table for me at this point. To answer the question about give and take in main board, it blocks 3. That's really pretty much it. It just blocks 3. So there's like very low opportunity cost to just keeping it in the main board. We can go over the list a little bit after this game, and I can just show you that in this particular matchup, it's an extender, right? So it's just like, it's a bad extender in most situations, but it is an extender, which is relevant against Prism, right? So yeah, it just, you know, it does its thing basically, and that's it. Okay, so we got a Herald of Triumph here. I think since we already saw 2 of the Looking for Scraps, and the Malign is kind of our only card here that does anything, and he pitched a blue, so he can't really do anything. I think I'm going Dagger into Death Touch, arsenaling another Death Touch. Problem is then I can't fully block this. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. Because I don't want to block with the Codex, right? And I don't want to block with Balance here, because I need Balance for Herald of Erudition. So I think I have to block with Leave No and Malign here, and then just send a Death Touch with the Codex, Arsenal another Death Touch. I don't think there's any way I can play around that, really. Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's kind of like my only play here. It's definitely worse than going Dagger into Death Touch, because that makes it significantly harder for Prism to block. But yeah, I think that's just what I have to do here. There's an argument to be made to actually arsenal the Codex here, because we have both CNC and Leave No Witnesses in the graveyard, so that's actually pretty good. But we don't have a Tunic coming up. So if we arsenal this, Tunic's on 2, and then we have to sit on it in arsenal. But I think it might be the slightly better play, because Death Touch isn't really disrupting them, right? It's just damage. It's good because they're at 21. But I think I'm gonna arsenal the Codex here. Yeah, I like that play slightly better. So if you're wondering what's happening here, that is my cat currently sitting on my keyboard. All right, so this is 6, threatening 8. Right? So he has to really think about blocking this. And if he is not blocking this, I'm definitely giving him Blood Rot. Because this game is just race them ASAP. Just kill him as fast as possible. That is the whole game plan. Sagan, can you please get off of my keyboard? Thank you. Okay. Operation Distract the Cat. Okay, there we go. Okay, he is just taking that. Yeah, go with Bloodrot Pox, sure. Arsenal this. Okay, yeah, it's an Erudition, alright. So yeah, this is why I'm keeping Balance here, right? because he has this. And then, what is my hand? It's Codex of Bloodrot, Amnesia, and Already Dead. Okay. So, not the greatest hand, but I think I can block with AD and Balance, and that's probably pretty okay. So there's a decent chance that he does have the Angelic Wrath here, but I cannot play around that. I just flat out can. I don't have a direct in Arsenal, so if he has the Angelic Wrath, that's it. I don't do anything here. I can try to do this. There he is. Enjoy it, Sagan trying to attack the camera pointing at him. Okay, so we're good. Okay, and then he's just coming in with a War Tune for, what is that, 5. So this has Phantasm now, but I think it's coming in for 4. That's kind of unfortunate, right? Like for 5. So the most efficient way to do this is like just block with the Fate Foreseen here, be efficient, and then just send the Amnesia. The downside to that is I let him get a Herald trigger, but I think at this point I can't really play around it. So I'm just gonna have to eat that, I think, and just block with the Fate Foreseen, and that's just, you know, sometimes that's just how it is. And then I hope the next hand is like a blue, so I can go Dagger, Codex, CNC, and then just block with the rest of my hand. Shakedown on top is nice, but actually not really what I need here. But it does block 3, so I think I'll keep that on top, and it's a popper. So that could be like maybe sort of slightly relevant. Probably not, but you know. Okay, I'm guessing they're gonna get protection here probably for a Spectral. Just because they already have an Arsenal, so getting Erudition doesn't really make a lot of sense. And they got Erudition actually. So, okay, so they're kind of like IPing themselves with the Ponder. I'm okay with that. Just makes them sort of lose some value. And now they're taking another 2. Oh, okay, they're pondering for the Bloodroot. Okay, that's actually smart because they have like 1 floating. So they can pitch another yellow and then they're fine. Okay, that's actually pretty good. Yep, that's pretty smart. Yep, and they're just pitching another yellow. Yeah, even if it was a red, as long as it was a Herald, they could pitch that because of Vestige, right? So, yeah, okay. Yep. Not hating that. Solid. Okay, so we're sending Amnesia at them. And let's see if it's actually relevant here, because Amnesia is like one of those cards that kind of shuts down their game plan a whole bunch. They don't have Go Again. They don't get to tutor on hit. So if Amnesia hits them, that basically means like all of the Heralds are just, they give them soul, sure, but that's it. They just get soul from it. That's the whole thing. They don't get Go Again. They don't get to tutor. It just basically turns them into like more or less vanilla damage with like slight upsides, which is still pretty good because like every Herald is still above rate for what it does, right? Yeah, I think it's decent in that matchup. I think it's okay. Like, it's not, I think it does less than you think it would at face value, but I think it's pretty decent against Prism specifically. The fact that they're tanking on this block so long also makes me think that, yeah, they had a pretty good hand and they really wanted to keep it, but it just doesn't work if they're hit by Amnesia. So actually, that's pretty solid. If I get them to block down and they only get to keep like 2 to 3 cards, I'm fine with that. That's exactly where I want to be. Like slightly make up the life deficit, right? And then just kind of hit him. And I don't have a blue. That's actually unfortunate. Not getting those blues is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Okay, sure. Wait, they're just passing? So their turn just does... Oh, okay, they must have had like 2 non-blocks in hand. And they probably have... They don't have a D-React in Arsenal. Oh my god. I think they have like an ALS in Arsenal. And I think they just have 2 non-blocks still in hand. So that's actually pretty premium. So okay, I think what I'm going to do here is I am just going to sink the Already Dead and then play out the Shakedown and then potentially flick to turn it on. I'm fine with that. Or they're looking to combo. That's also possible. Yeah, fair enough. So we are going to just sink this. Go again. I like having an extender here, though. That's actually pretty good. And if they let this... Actually, I could be tempted to just go Already Dead, because that's something that they might just let hit. I don't have boots, never mind. I mean, I do have boots, but I have the wrong boots. So that plan doesn't work. If I had black text, I could go like swing Already Dead. If they don't block it, black text, and then into the codex, player leave no witnesses. But obviously wrong boots for that. So yeah, there's that. And then we just go Tunic. Bit annoying that we have to play it that way, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah. Okay. And that's a Shakedown sent their way. Obviously, we would like to use our flicks for something different, right? But I mean, if I have to use flicks to turn on a Shakedown, I have to use flicks that way. That's just how it is. Sometimes you just have to use flick knives to turn on a Shakedown, and that's okay. They're comboing now. Okay, sure. I respect the reactive combo. That's fine, honestly. So they're probably just looking to empty their hand, or just getting a couple more blockers. So I'm thinking they have like at least 2 non-blocks in hand. They had at least 1 with the Angelic Wrath, right? They did get Rebirth. That's interesting. Okay. Figment of Rebirth. They got a Herald of Triumph back on top of their deck. Not going for the Erudition here. That's kind of interesting. Because I don't have armor anymore, right? So this is kind of interesting. So I wonder if they have a tome here, or what their overall game plan here is. Because like going for Triumph, I think doesn't make sense, because they have Passing and Merciful out. Like, I'm not popping anyways. I don't care about Triumph. Triumph is like the least relevant Herald right now for me. Unless they can do like a double Herald turn and it's a second one, and even then they still have Merciful out. So it just doesn't matter, right? I'm not looking to pop in this spot. If I'm blocking Heralds, I'm just covering them, right? I'm not popping anything here. So like so far, not a whole lot. Okay, they're playing a Genesis. Yeah, I do. I mean, and they're just okay. Fair enough. I guess. GG. I guess they just didn't draw anything that would work, and they had an ALS and a Genesis and an Invoke Soraya in hand. So yeah, they did have like three non-blocks in hand. Okay. I guess they were kind of looking to draw into another Herald, just to be able to block that Shakedown, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'll take it. So apart from the fact that apparently Spectra is bugged right now in Teleshar, which is obviously hugely annoying for that matchup, I think that worked pretty okay. Oh, we got an Arachne. That's interesting. Arachne. Do I go second? I think into Arachne I go second, right? Unless they're on like the full fatigue plan, but I think Arachne is still kind of played as a tempo deck. So I think I just go second and tempo them back. I think that's like generally the plan that I want to go for. And then I go Spider's Bite, Nerf Scalpel. I go Crown of Providence. Otherwise, this looks fine. Okay, and then for cards, we definitely want all of our D-Reacts. Because it is an assassin. We definitely want our shreds. I think this might honestly be a matchup where I go a little above 60, but not like too much. So I think I'm bringing the Codex of Bloodrot just because they're efficient tempo cards. I'm bringing Sigils. And I don't think this is a matchup where I'm bringing the Pummel. I might be tempted to. Yeah, honestly, let's bring the Pummel. I'm leaving out the Oasis, though, because they don't really have Dominate, so that's kind of wasted. Also, I'm not too sure about the Inertia Traps, because they don't really run a lot of buffed attacks. So I think I'll cut that down to like 2 copies, and then just leave it at 65. Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. Let's go. That seems okay, honestly. Okay, they are running like just straight up 70 cards. So I think this is like straight up fatigue Arachne. So we do have to kill them. They're starting it off with a Plunder the Poor. All right. Sinking the top card. Okay. I think I'm just using this opportunity just to get 2 blue stealth cards in the graveyard already. Just so I have fodder for looking for a scrap whenever it comes up. And then we can see what we do with our turn. I am fine with this outcome. Maybe he has a cut to the chase here and I leak 1. And it's okay, but they do not. Okay, very nice. All right. And we do have perfect. This is actually pretty nice. We can dagger, leave no witnesses to threaten the arsenal, and then sink below. So the thing is, because this is Arachne, right? And they do run a whole bunch of D-Reacts, I'm not attacking with Spider's Bite here. I'm attacking with Nerf Scalpel here, and I am overpitching. Because I'm already like bluffing a shred with the sink below. And I like to get already dead on the bottom of my deck because it's a solid attack in a late game. Just because it's a big chunk of damage, right? I'm just overpitching this. Okay, they're just blocking that. They're actually blocking my daggers with cards. Okay, that's massive. That's actually pretty interesting. That also tells me they do have a D-React in Arsenal. So yeah, I'm just gonna throw this out there. And they probably have a D-React in Arsenal now. Guessing a Sync or a Fate, obviously. Yep, there we go. It's a Fate, it's from hand. Okay, sure. I'm not flicking here, obviously, because like this is a long game. I need to be able to double dagger just to kind of like fatigue or like, I guess, counter fatigue them a little bit. I think I want to not have the Codex on top because already that is one of the worst cards you can ponder into. So I'm just going to do it like this. Okay, they're just sending Annihilate, sure. Pitching already dead, alright. So for the record, I think this is a matchup that is pretty Arachne favored overall. So let's see. I think I can block this with Amnesia. Actually, I'm tempted to block this with Black Tax and then just sink. And then probably cycle out the Amnesia, because that just doesn't do anything with this hand, and it also doesn't do anything in this matchup. Apart from stopping them from re-equipping their equipment. I definitely don't want this to hit, right? So, yeah. And, I mean, Leave No Witnesses or Surgical would definitely be a better target for the Black Text. And having Black Text and Crown also means I can potentially block out a CNC, so I don't know. But I also want to clear up my arsenal because I want to arsenal a death touch. So yeah, I'm definitely blocking like this here. Yep. No, I think that's probably the best. And I'm keeping the inertia trap here because they could have a cut to the chase in arsenal right now. And if they do, I want to be able to react to that. So I'm cycling out the amnesia just because that's kind of useless. Okay, CNC, pretty good. And now if that's it, I can actually just send a CNC and pitch the inertia trap and leave no witnesses and then arsenal the death touch. Also fine by me. Okay, sure. Actually, I could dagger. I could also go like attack with nerve scalpel and then swing leave no witnesses. But I think CNC just straight up says no D-reacts for you, so I kind of like that one more, I think. Yeah. Also, we already have a leave no witnesses in the graveyard. We don't have a CNC in the graveyard yet. So I think this is how I'm going to pitch this. Hey, thanks. Yeah, like, I mean, I got another pro quest coming up on the weekend and then another one the week after that. So I just really need to get some practice in here. Okay, that's an interesting block. Okay, so I'm getting rid of a humble. Okay, this block is extremely odd. Maybe he just wanted to get rid of the humble in Arsenal. Just because it's really, like, clunking it up. And this is, like, the cleanest way to do it. That results in the least amount of... damage for him. I don't know. Kind of weird. Okay. Alright, okay, so he needed to get rid of for the Codex of Frailty. Okay, but he's playing inefficient Codex of Frailty here. And now probably just gonna come in with another Annihilate the Armed. Yep. Alright, sure. He did leave the top card there, so that's probably an attack that could give him some silver. He might have a shred or a cut here. Can't really play around that. So I think what I'm gonna do is just block 6. And then send a death touch. Arsenal the CNC. Seems reasonable. Yeah, I don't think I want to give him silver. That's kind of like the main thing they can do is just do silver shenanigans. So I think I'm just blocking this with like the E-strike and leave no. Yep. Yeah, I don't hate that. That seems pretty reasonable, yeah. Yep. Alright, sure. Okay, they have a cut, sure. They're still leaving that on top. Not much I can do about that at this point. Sure. Go for it. Okay, shakedown. Pretty good hit for them, honestly, yeah. Not using Mask here on Annihilate is kind of interesting because I think that's probably one of their better silver generators in this matchup. Maybe even the best because I do run a bunch of attacks in general. They don't necessarily know I'm on specifically this list, but you know. Yeah, I still think I'm gonna do this just because I'm not too scared of an Arachne having a 5-card hand, so there's like no reason to massively pressure their arsenal here. Just gonna run out the death touch here. Okay, double sigil. Alright, sure. I guess so. Honestly, don't hate to see those gone this early. Like, generally, the earlier you have to burn a sigil, the worse it is. Okay, he's just blocking for 3. Probably taking 2 here. So we give him a blood rot. Oh, wait, I could have shredded. I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's on me. I forgot that. Can't go back here. I should have shredded there. That was stupid. Oh well, happens. Okay, and he's playing out an Eradicate with nothing to pump it up. I love that. That is like the least harmful Eradicate. He did leave the top card on top. So I think I still have to give him 2 cards here, but it's not terrible. Yeah, I just give him Already Dead and Amnesia. And then I pitch the Shred back in to play the CNC. I mean, he doesn't have an arsenal, right? So that's kind of annoying. So that actually doesn't do a whole lot. I think it's probably better to play out the Already Dead, pitching the Codex, and then maybe leaving the Shred, but that does mean that I get to... He gets to banish 1 card. If that's a Codex, that's kind of annoying. But honestly, yeah, I think I'm fine letting 1 hit here. That's okay. He knows what's on top, so either he's happy to just get rid of it, or it's a yellow. Okay, he's cracking Mask. Sure. I don't run that many yellows. That's like, okay, it's a Death Touch. And a yellow Shred. Okay, so he gets 1 silver off of it. Alright. Yeah, I guess I could... No, like, if I play Codex here, what does that do? Like, playing Codex here is really bad. Because, like, it doesn't really do anything apart from giving them a frailty. And then, yeah, it makes my CNCs live, sure. But if I'm not getting a card back from the Codex, it's just kind of wasted. Like, I don't have to discard either, sure. But if I play the Codex here, I'm just being really inefficient, because then I'm left with an Already Dead. I kind of don't want to have that in Arsenal. It's an icky play. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send out that with the Codex. I don't mind my Codexes going to the bottom, right? Because this is a long game. This is going to take a while. We're going to be here for a bit. And if you have a Codex in a late game, it's super powerful, right? So I don't mind to have that there. I already have 1 on the bottom, so it's kind of okay, but yeah. So yeah, this is a yellow Shred, so I don't mind shredding here. Okay, he has an aces, sure, he has to pitch for that, so that's not doing a whole lot. I'm still hitting with that AD. Would be nicer if it was a D-React, but, you know, I'm fine with this. Banishing a Leave No. Second Leave No is gone, so he only has 1 Leave No Witnesses, and that's actually not in the graveyard right now, so it's just 1 that he has in the deck. That's actually pretty good. Leave No is one of their more annoying cards in general. Alright, pretty nice. And he has a Codex. Okay, and he can't get a Leave No, so he's probably gonna get like a Plan of the Poor here, which is really like not one of their more threatening things. And he's sinking the top card. Okay, let's see. What do we do here? He's getting an arsenal for sure. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna double dagger and then CNC. And then set up... Question is, am I double blocking this? I don't think I'm double blocking this. It's kind of annoying because he is fatiguing me this way. Wait, do I have... I already have 2 blues, so I'm good for looking for scraps. I don't need to waste this isolate here. Yeah, I think I'm just blocking with the Already Dead and then setting up the sensor in Arsenal because I have a tunic coming up. Actually, I think... No, I'm blocking with the sensor here. I think I don't need to play efficient, right? I'd rather have the Already Dead in Arsenal, actually, than the sensor here in this matchup. Yep. Seems good. Oof. Oh, they hit the Codex. Okay, that's nasty. That is nasty. That's the 3rd Codex gone. That is really lucky. Yeah, because they did sink the top card, so they didn't know that was on top. Yeah, that's nice. Lucky for them. It happens. All right, and now we're still doing the play that we wanted to do. So again, in this case, you start with the Nerf Scalpel, right? You attack with that first, then the Spider's Bite, then the Command and Conquer. Generally, if you double dagger, you always want to start with the dagger. Oh, fuck, we're codexed. Yeah, I'm stupid. Never mind. I'm stupid. Yeah, he codexed me. Yes. All right, so that's not going to do anything. Yeah. I should have double blocked that for sure. That was dumb. But yeah, okay, it happens. All right. So he does have an aces here. Yep. Yep. Again, he doesn't care about playing efficiently, right? He just cares about running me out of cards. He just cares about running me out of cards here. Yeah, I forgot. Like, the double dagger would have been actually good here. And I just, you know, fucked that up like an idiot. But it happens. He's okay. That's Tunic Eradicate. That is actually scary. That's actually scary. I do have 2 D-reacts though, so I think I'm kind of okay. So I don't think he has double cut here because he already used 1 cut. He might have double shred. Also kind of unlikely though. So my turn can just be like looking for a scrap into already dead. And I can still block with these 2D reacts here. So I think we're actually okay. He left the top card. Okay, sure. He does have a cut. Sure. He does have the mask. Sure. I do have the fate. I guess I can see what's on top, and then potentially I could like maybe, yeah, sure. That's still only coming in for 3. Give me your dagger. I love it. Yep. I do have another one of these. Shakedown on top. Do I want to draw into that? Not really, because I'd have to cycle out the codex, and that's paying for this, so I'm leaving that on top. I think. Yeah, I'm reasonably certain that he doesn't have a shred in arsenal here. And now he used a dagger and he used mask and he didn't gain anything from it. That's a huge win for us. And now I can do this and I can finally do a little bit of tempo here. So the reason why I chose backstab over isolate here, right? If you have the choice, leave isolate in your graveyard, right? Because there are some fringe plays where you go Codex of Frailty to grab an isolate just to dominate something in the late game. Like I said, it's really fringe, but it does come up sometimes. And then since he already blocked, I'm just gonna play that out and just hit him with the already dead. He's probably gonna block for 6 here, I would imagine. Or he's not blocking? Okay, interesting. Okay, so he probably has either a Codex of Frailty because he wanted to clear his arsenal, or he has a Coercive Tendencies next. Nice. We did get a... Why did we banish 2 cards? Oh, we banished the sync from the first chain link, right? And then we got a CNC off the top. So we actually got 1 silver. Pretty nice. That's actually pretty decent. And our hand is kind of ass, but we can potentially sync, which isn't too bad. Yeah, that seems okay, honestly. If we can sync into a blue here, this hand is actually pretty good. If we can't, it kind of sucks, unfortunately. But yeah, it doesn't even block terribly well, but yeah. If it's a yellow, it's fine too, because then we can go like looking for scrap into sensor, right? Which is also not horrible, but we're just, you know, obviously we're just letting him dagger us here. I don't care. He's leading with the spider's bite too, which is interesting. And then he's sending a sack the shifty, okay. Right. So wait, sack the shifty is looking for cards with base go again. That is not a whole lot in my deck. That is literally just codexes. That's it. And we know that most of them are not on the top here. All right, sure. So even if this is coercive tendencies, I don't think he can do anything here. So yeah, we're still sinking. And okay, he's activating black text. Sure, go ahead. I do have the sink, and you can't really do anything. He might have a shred here, in which case we kind of get a bit punished for it. But so I'm thinking, like, if I draw into a blue, obviously this hand is great with shakedown. If I draw into anything else, keeping sensor is better. Because then I can go pitch whatever I draw for sensor, arsenal looking for a scrap, which is definitely better. Yeah, I think I'm kind of bottoming the shakedown here. Yeah, feels better. Yep, it's yellow. Okay, nice. Okay, that's good. And I just hope he doesn't have a shred or another cut here. And he does not. Okay, very nice. So he just IP'd himself. Very good. And now this hand is actually pretty gas, because now we can go looking for a scrap into sensor off of the yellow here. Which is, honestly, 3-card 10 with an on-hit. Could be worse. Pitch this, banish the isolate. Not the worst. I'm okay with this. Okay. Snap blocking 5. Okay, he's running lead to charge. So I'm thinking that's a Prism tech, and he's just full stacking into us. I need to start daggering him some more, actually. Like, I need to utilize daggers more, but I need blues to do that. If I don't have blues, it just kind of doesn't do anything. Okay, he's letting that hit. He has a 3-card hand, which is kind of bad for coercive, and we're only doing damage. He could have a CNC here, but we don't have an arsenal, so that would be kind of like not doing a whole lot. He has played a plunder, he's played annihilate, he's played 2 plunders actually, so I'm not naming that. He's played 2 annihilates too, so I'm also not naming that. He could have an already dead. We haven't seen any of those. We have seen 2 CNCs, we have seen... Yeah, I think already dead seems like a reasonable name here. He probably also doesn't have another codex, because he kept like 3 cards. That doesn't make sense for a codex play. I'm naming already dead here. All right. Ah, it's a surgical. Okay, that's also pretty good. Pretty solid. Yeah, I think I should have probably played around that. But okay, at least the read that he had a 2 cost was like correct, you know? Surgical. So he might have a cut here. But honestly, our hand is kind of like just not doing anything, if we're being honest here. So like my issue right now is that a lot of my 2 costs are already gone. Right? I have already dead here, another already dead here, 2 CNCs, an amnesia. I have a shakedown and banish. I just bottomed another shakedown, so I'm not arsenaling this pummel. Arsenaling this right now is like dumb as hell. I can't bottom it without him seeing it. But I don't really mind just daggering a bunch. So I think I'm just gonna block this for 6. The question is just, what do I block with? I think my give and take in the late game would be extremely good. I kind of want to keep that. So I think I'm blocking this with the shred. Which is also good in the late game, but I already have one on the bottom. And then I think I'm blocking this with the concealed blade as well. And if he has a cut, he has a cut. Or a shred, you know. I don't know. I don't know if he's running shreds. I haven't. He's running shreds. He pitched the yellow. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. He's definitely running shreds. Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, I think we're just daggering here. And then we just, yeah. I think we just do a turn where we just dagger him. And we just pitch those 2 cards. And then those are going to be hell for him in the late game because then he has to play around it. And now if he sees the pummel, he's actually thinking, all right, do I have another one? I just want to get the give and take to the bottom. Actually, I should have attacked with it because I already bottomed the first one. And then the second one is a target for the first one, but I can just use a Codex of Frailty as a target for the first one. I think that's also fine. Probably should have either arsenaled it or just attacked with it. Either would have been fine, probably. The 4 blue stealth card hand, right? So, Ollie, if you're still in here, feel vindicated right now. And these are all attacks, so yeah, this is like, well, I mean, at least we're good for, you know, at least we're good in terms of fodder for looking for a scrap. So that's not too bad. Okay, a blue sack the shifty, very powerful card. Definitely very powerful card. Okay, I'm happy blocking that with another infect. It's a coercive turn, all right. I still don't, there's a decent chance he is not getting a banish off of this because I don't run a whole lot of cards with native go again. Yep, he just banished a shakedown, that's it. So his turn is gone. I mean, honestly, he's already banished 2 of my shakedowns. That's a pretty good outcome for him. Just using this to dig for power cards, pretty solid. But yeah, okay, what I'm doing here is I'm playing the infect. To get him to actually block 6 because I don't have a follow-up. Normally you'd play out the isolate, obviously, but we want him to get baited into thinking I actually have something for this. And he respects it, or maybe he dereacts it. Yep, he's fading this. Okay, sure, sure. That's good. Don't hate seeing that gone. And then we get to isolate in Arsenal. Also pretty good. All right, he's using Spider's Bite. I am still not blocking that. Yep, sure, go for it. What do you got? And it's already dead. Okay, pretty nasty. Pretty nasty, honestly. He left the top card, so that's potentially a reaction if he's looking to hit with this. And there's a bunch of things that he still has left in the deck that he can hit with this. So the sinks are gone, but there's still like 2 fates left. There is 1 shred, but that's on the bottom. That's kind of it, actually. That is kind of it in terms of reaction. So yeah, I think my turn is just E-strike, 5 go again, into dagger, into isolate CNC. Actually, the dagger is kind of redundant there. I could double dagger into isolate CNC. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Because I don't mind taking 6 here, right? Like, this is not really about damage. This is not a tempo Arachne. This is like full on fatigue me, please. So I don't mind taking 6, gone at 27 here. Ah, it's inertia trap. Okay, that's fair. Sure, yeah. So another silver for him. All right. That's okay. Okay, so we start with the E-strike. We bottom this so he doesn't see it. And then we go 5 go again. Okay, using the sink here. Smart. Because I might have a CNC. Pretty good. Then we go Spider's Bite. Actually wrong of me to do it this way. I've been telling you the whole time, don't start with the Spider's Bite, but, you know, whatever. In this case, since he's letting them both hit, I think it doesn't really matter all that much. So this is just vanilla 6 here, but, you know, it's not terrible, actually. We do need to kill him. He's keeping 4 cards, which is interesting, so I guess he has another coercive tendencies coming up. Which means it's pretty okay that we have the Fate foreseen here. Pretty solid. Okay, he's playing Lead the Charge, I guess, and then Annihilate. Sure. I mean, it's a shitty way to get go again, but it's a way to get go again. So I suppose that works. Okay, what do we do here? I'm thinking, okay, he sunk the top card, and my hand again kind of does nothing. This is the second give and take that we've got coming in, so I don't mind throwing that out right now. I would like to have a follow-up for it though. But I definitely can't block with this. I need this to be at least something that he thinks about blocking a little bit. Obviously he can block it with a shred, he can block it with a cut, but that's an okay outcome for me, I think. So I think he wants to follow this up with something, and I think it's either a Codex or it's a 0 for 4. So I think I am not blocking that one. I'm going to 22, and then I'm going to Fate the second attack. Yeah, because I don't have a way to clean block this, right? So it's kind of not worth it. Yep, backstabs, no silver for him. It's okay. Yep. And now he plays the surgical, yes. So we played around that exactly correctly. We Fate here. And we have Concealed Blade on top. Yeah, I don't mind that. That's okay on top, honestly. Not the worst draw. And we set up the Sigil and Arsenal, obviously. And then we just... I mean, I could keep bottoming these and just throw the Sensor at him. That is also an option. Let's see, he's played out 2 Codex of Frailty so far. He's played a bunch of Annihilate. He's played 2 Eradicate. He's played Already Dead. He's played 2 Surgicals. He's still only played 1 Already Dead. And that's all the Annihilates gone, actually. I'm just trying to figure out if Sensor is actually good here. I think I kind of like Give and Take more. Now let's go for Sensor. Just keep bottoming that. It'll be relevant at some point. Okay, so he has a D-React here. I might be tempted to actually use Nerf Scalpel, because I know I have Concealed Blade coming up. But also I'm not sure it's worth it. The thing is, like, he's kind of running out of D-reacts, right? That's one sink, second sink. Actually, he's doing pretty fine. He hasn't used a whole lot of D-reacts. That's one fate. And two sinks. Oh, two fates and two sinks. Yeah, no, I think we can get something that's a little more impactful than this. You know what? I think I like the flick here. Just for the extra damage. And then the chance to also kind of like ruin his turn. Right, question is, what do we name now? I think Already Dead is still a pretty decent contender here. We also haven't seen the last CNC, but if he plays CNC, we have Sigil and Arsenal, so we don't actually mind that. That's actually pretty solid for us. Yeah, I think I like Already Dead as an option, because I don't think he runs too many Humbles. I think I'm still naming Already Dead here. He's keeping a 3-card hand. Yep, I don't hate this. Arsenal that. Alright. Okay, it's an E-strike. 4 go again. Okay. Alright, so that's 5 go again. Do we need to block this? I don't think so. I don't give a shit. Also, my hand kind of doesn't do a whole lot. I'm actually kind of tempted to use the Crown of Providence to cycle out a card here. But I'm not blocking this E-strike. I don't care. Hit me for 5. I don't give a crap. Yep, it's a leave now. Okay, that's a lot better. Okay, so I could cycle out the Arsenal. Or I just play the Sigil here. Let's see. I mean, I have a Fate, right? I can just clean block this and not care. Yeah, seems pretty good. I can just dagger and then E-strike for 7. Because I don't have anything that I can use this Conceal Blade on right now. Yeah, looking for a scrap on top is actually pretty gas. If I can protect it there. Do we have a target? We have targets for it galore. Not an issue. Yep, I'm fine with this. Alright, and then we just go... Yeah, dagger, E-strike for 7. Solid. I don't hate that. Okay, blocking that with a humble. Making good use of the 2 block. Don't hate that. I think my camera is frozen, right? Let's see. Yep, there we go. Okay, he's blocking that for 6, sure. Leaking 1. Alright. Okay, he's just arsenaling, sure. Okay, we have Tunic up. We have another Sigil. I would like to send a Surgical as the follow-up. And I can, but I can't put the Conceal Blade on top of it. That's kind of annoying. But I think it's alright. Yeah, this is a pretty clean cost curve overall, I would say. Yep. So we just go looking for a scrap, pitch the Conceal Blade, banish an Infect, hit him with the old 5 go again. All right, blocking for 3. Surgical. That's a 2-card block unless he has a D-React. To be fair, that's probably a better play to keep the Scalpel for. Don't use it on Censor. But you know. Oh, he's giving us Flick Knives. Okay. Doesn't have the D-React. Alright. I'll take that. I don't hate that. And then we play the Sigil from Arsenal. Arsenal, another card. There we go. Codex up. Ideally looking to Arsenal that, I think. And then we should be drawing into another blue. And then we can do like a Codex play with Dagger into CNC. Yeah, so this is already dead for 6. He's pitching another Shred. We do know he has another cut left in the deck, I think. That's 1 cut, 2nd cut. I don't see the 3rd one. And he's blocked with 1 Shred. And he's pitched 2, and I don't think the other one's coming up yet. So he could reasonably have a cut here, actually. So let's see, how do we block this? So in case he doesn't have a cut, I think our turn is just leave no witnesses. And then we double block this, but these are like, these are 2 of our most threatening attacks, actually. And wait, actually I think I know what's on top here. I have an inertia trap on top here, if I'm not completely mistaken. Yeah, I think I should have an inertia trap on the top, so that actually gives him a silver, so we want to block this. Yeah. Yeah, alright. I think I have to block this. Yeah. The other option is blocking with the Leave No and sending the already dead, just because it threatens more damage. But I think I like setting up the Codex and Arsenal and then making a play off of a blue a little bit more. He does have the cut. Okay, whatever. Yeah. I'm sure it's inertia trap though. 100%. Let's see. Yep, inertia trap. Yep. Yay, and the second Codex. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. Maybe should have respected the cut here, but I also kind of can't play around it. You know? Maybe the correct play there was to just not block. Just keep the cards. He banished like 2 of my Codex of Frailties, right? That's really annoying. He has 1 left. So we need to make the last one count for sure. He also doesn't have an Arsenal here. And I'm pretty sure he has a D-React in hand right now. Yeah. But he also doesn't really have any Arsenal threats left, so I'm just sending this out. It's fine. Yep. Yeah. Okay, that's the last I think that's the last fate. There's 1 here, 1 here. They're all gone. And then in terms of sync below, he has 1 in banished. And that's actually it. He still has 2 syncs. I don't know what's going on with this guy, but yeah. Alright. He probably has another D-React in hand right now, I think. Because like, this is definitely pitch stack territory. Oh, I should have played the Sigil, Arsenal, the Codex. That was stupid, but you know, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, still not blocking that. We're good, mate. We're good. Hit me. What's coming now? Tunic, CNC. Yep. Joke's on you. I have Sigil of Solace. Okay, let's see. Hang on. I do actually kind of need to block this at least a little bit. So I guess I'm giving him an isolate. I'm playing the sigil, and then I can overpitch for dagger CNC. Seems reasonable. Yeah, I don't think I need to use the crown here. Because, like, what could I draw into that's actually better than anything I have here? So that's kind of the issue. Actually, I mean, I could try to make a black text play here, but I kind of need a shred to really make that work. So isolate surgical isn't enough. Because I'm almost certain he has another D-react here. Yeah, I'm playing out the sigil for sure. And then I'm blocking that with an isolate just to fade a little bit of damage. Yep. I am most likely not going to Calling Warsaw, unfortunately. It's just like I don't have vacation days remaining, and it's a little too far to go there just for the weekend. So unfortunately, no calling for me there. Right, I'm grabbing CNC here, obviously, because, like I said, I'm fairly certain he has a D-react in Arsenal right now, which makes this, like, really annoying to block, because he got hit. Unless he has the third Oasis, I guess? Does he have another Oasis? He did play 2. I don't think he's on 3. He's not on 3. Oh, he had a sack to shifty in Arsenal. Okay. No, I'm from Germany actually. It's like, you know, not crazy far, but it's far enough that it's not really worth it for like a weekend trip, right? Okay. Okay. So this is a CT turn, like 100%. Again, sack the shifty, not really something that's gonna hit a lot of cards for him. He's sinking the top card. Actually, let me think. Do I have anything left in the deck that is actually a hit for sack the shifty? I have 2 Codex of Bloodrot, so those are gone. The frailties are gone. I have 1 give and take here. And I think the second one is... could be in the top 3 cards, to be honest. So that's a possibility, because that does have native go again. Let's see, what do I want to do with this hand? I kind of want to pummel him, honestly. I kind of want to do shakedown pummel here, which means I need to just eat this damage and just gamble that there isn't a card in the top 3 that has native go again, because I think it's only the give and take that's left in my deck right now that has native go again, and I kind of don't think that's in the top 3. I think that's a little further down the line, but I could be wrong. So yeah, let's see how this works out. Definitely a CT though. Yep. He kept 4 cards. Like, there's no reason to do that unless you have a CT. Yep, okay, he banished the surgical, which is like, you know, it's honestly okay. Sure, he's banishing 2 cards here, so he's probably getting another good hit because he got to stack that. Isolate surgical, pretty solid, honestly. It's not too bad. So he got to banish 3 cards, which is very powerful, obviously. Playing a sigil, sure. But I also get to do some powerful stuff here. So we're going to start with a Codex of Bloodrot. That's going to refill our arsenal. It's pretty good. And then what we're going to do Obviously an isolate would be really amazing here, but you know, we don't have it, so I'm gonna arsenal this. And then I'm gonna play this shakedown, pitching this Codex of Bloodrot. Okay. Oof. All right. So he's just blocking 3 here. Yeah, I think he's gonna get blown out by Pummel here, unless he has like Oasis and D-React, I guess, or like double D-React. Could be wrong, but if he has just a D-React here, okay, he has Inertia Trap, that's actually nice, but I can layer that because I have a Ponder, so I don't actually care. And he has Oasis. Oh my god, this guy has so many defensive cards. That's the first Inertia Trap I've seen out of him, actually. Like, he's never played that before. Crazy. Okay, sure, yeah. Nice, good going. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna lose this. Because now, like, he got to banish 3 cards. He's at 15, I'm at 8. That was, like, likely my last big impactful play. So, yeah. I don't think I can win this. The only chance I have now is I can maybe loop him with Give and Take, but he's at 10. Right? So that's kind of, like, not really likely to happen. He's probably sending what's it called? Leave no witnesses here, because he doesn't have anything else. Yeah, he just has so many D-Reacts. That's kind of annoying. The thing is, like, even if I had kept the Nerf Scalpel for this turn, it wouldn't have done anything, because he overblocked by 1 exactly with the Oasis. Oh, it's a Plunder, huh? I guess he doesn't have a Leave No in Arsenal, does he? In Graveyard, I mean. Yeah, I don't think he has a Leave No in Graveyard, actually. I mean, 2 are unbanished. He might have had to pitch 1, I don't know. Sure, yeah. I mean, I still have to give him a card here, right? So that's kind of annoying. Let's see, what can we do here? I mean, I can block this with Crown of Providence. And just cycle out one of the Concealed Blades, because like I kind of don't need 2 of these in this hand. So yeah, I don't hate that. I kind of want to keep the Codex here, just because it's a pretty decent card to have in Arsenal. And the Bloodrots are just kind of annoying for him. So I'm just going to do this, and then block with one of the Concealed Blades. Actually, I'm going to block with the Wither, and then cycle out one of the Concealed Blades, yeah. Because that's kind of like not doing that much for me. Sink this. Sure, that's actually pretty good. But I kind of want to have a shred to actually make that work. Yo, man, Ryan, holy crap. Thanks for the huge donation. What's going on here? Okay, wait, let me just finish my thought. I have 1 shred in banished. I'll get right on to you. I have no shreds in the graveyard, so I should have 2 shreds still in the deck, because I'm running 3 in this matchup. So I want to combine the surgical with a shred in order to really make it work. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like Codex of Bloodrot, Dagger, Give and Take, and then Arsenal the surgical. Okay. Right, you cannot play Contract Aggro in Tier 2 without facing opponents that slow play me right to the clock. Very frustrating. These players set up win con but don't leave me time to fatigue by damage. Yeah, so I think there's like 2 things that you can do to do that. And one of them's basically just repeating the deck. Just play the deck, right? So you know the lines. And so you don't go to time with the deck. That's not necessarily going to help against opponents that actively try to slow play you, right? I will waste the Ponder, that's true, yeah. But this surgical is like one of my last kind of threats that I have. I think I need to make that kind of impactful, right? Because he banished one and I played one earlier. So this is like one of the last big things I actually have left in the deck, right? So that needs to actually kind of be relevant. I am wasting the ponder that way, but it's like, you know, it's not the end of the day. So yeah, let's run this out first. Then we arsenal this. Then we go dagger. The thing is, like, I could surgical, but the concealed blade I think isn't enough to get it over the top, right? Just because he has like, fuck me, I cannot dagger because I am under frailty. Why am I messing this up? Why is he blocking this? Lovely. No, I think I'm fine sending the... this is actually dumb because this is coming in for 2 right now because of the frailty, yeah. Yeah, I think this is like... I really messed that turn up. I should have dropped surgical and then held the G&T. Yeah, I fucked that up. Yeah, like Tom says, right now the solution to slow play is call a judge early. If you have the feeling that somebody's actively trying to slow play you, definitely call a judge. Have them monitor it for slow play. I will say... I have frequently gone close to time with my contract Uzuri list. It does happen, right? Yeah, I think I just pass here. Like, sending out this give and take for 2 just feels not great. Yeah, I'm just passing here, honestly. This turn was like the shittiest crap ever. But yeah. Where are my shreds, honestly? I'm kind of wondering where my shreds are. I haven't played any shreds. Oh no, I've played 1 shred and he's banished 1. Oh no, I've played 2. Okay, I'm out of shreds. I'm stupid. Never mind. I don't actually have any shreds left in the deck. I'm just stupid. That's what's going on here. Alright, hit me. Yeah, I'm getting fatigued by Arachne. I don't get blown out by damage. I get blown out by fatigue here. I have 3 cards left in deck. That's the problem right now. My problem is that he's fatiguing me. I mean, sure, I die to damage eventually. That's kind of correct, but I also just die to, you know, getting fatigued here. So yeah, like... practicing the deck so you know your lines, and then if you have the feeling that somebody's trying to slow play you, right? Also early call a judge early, basically. I think these are like the 2 things that you do in order to, you know, not lose this. I think that's basically how it goes, right? Okay, so I guess I kind of have to block this. It's kind of okay. He's still getting the banish. He sunk the top card. Yeah, he's just killing me here, but he ran me out of cards, so this kind of sucks. I could have definitely played that better. I made a whole bunch of mistakes in this game. But I will say I also think he probably has a shred here and I just die. He's not actually playing shreds. All right, sure. He did banish my concealed blade, which is annoying. He's taking another 2, so he's at 6 here. I think I'm still playing out this Codex of Bloodrot, even though I kind of don't want to arsenal a card. But just because Ponder with the give and take is so powerful. But yeah, like, just keep an eye out for stuff, right, basically. Okay, he's just taking 3. Ah, he has Inertia Trap. Okay, yeah, that's fair. He has so many D-Reacts in the late game. It's insane, honestly. He still has a Sync left. So I can play out the second give and take, and he just doesn't give a fuck. He probably just lets this pass, honestly. And then that's my game. He can just let that hit. He just lets that hit. He has another inertia trap. Okay, whatever. Nice, nice. Let's drop him a GG. Very well done. He played that really well. For what it's worth, I do think that this matchup is inherently Arachne favored, and not just by a little. I think what I need to take away from this is I need to full stack. I just need to run the full pile into them. And I need to play smarter and not make as many mistakes, honestly. So yeah, but like this is GG. Like I have 2 cards left in deck and I have no chance of winning this. So yeah, that's GG, honestly. I can dagger here, but he's at 6 and I have no threats left. So yeah. All right. Good game. Well done. No, it is a skill matchup. Sure. Yeah, for sure. But like I would say, given equal player skill, right? And like equal experience with the matchup, I think Arachne is favored. Especially into like a non-contract Uzuri, right? I did make a whole bunch of mistakes too, right? That's like one of the side effects of, you know, playing and then chatting with people at the same time. And it's a long drawn out game. This was like 20 turns. I do need to play this more cleanly, I think. So a number of decision points that were wrong on my side were keeping cards when I was under the effect of a frailty to dagger. That was definitely wrong. In general, I think I need to dagger more in this matchup. Just because the daggers make it like harder for them, right? To fatigue me, because the damage does add up if you think about it, right? Like they were at 6 life at the end here. And they gained a bunch of life from like aces. They gained, played like 3 sigils, I think. So they gained a bunch of life there. They played aces. They played full stack, which is obviously an advantage. And they didn't have any like particular fatigue tech, right? They didn't have like last ditch effort. They didn't have give and take. They didn't have remembrance or anything. So this was a very, very fair, like face up straight Arachne list. Just solid, good stuff. So the takeaway, I think, is like bring full stack for sure. Don't leave any cards in the sideboard, even if it's aces. Like playing efficiently does not matter in this matchup at all, I think. So that's okay. That's on me. Like not bringing everything. I could have brought the last inertia trap. I had 2 more aces. I had 2 aces in the sideboard still, and I think that's it. Or maybe 1 other card. I don't quite remember, but I should definitely full stack into them. Then I think going second is the correct play. But it kind of depends. Like the problem with Arachne is they can be played as like this, right? Like the straight up fatigue deck. But you can also play Arachne in a much more aggressive, like tempo-oriented play style. I think like TCG talk, if you're still in here, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the more kind of mid-rangey aggressive Arachne. And I think that list, if you full stack and you go second, it's fine, right? It's a correct play. Into the fatigue list, it could actually be the correct play to go first, just to run them out of cards, right? So it's a weird matchup. I think if I'm given the choice, I'm going second, just because I do like having tempo. And there's just not a whole lot of things that Uzuri can do on turn 0 that are actually impactful, right? Over the long term of the game. I think what did I misplay? Like, help me out here a little bit. Like, was there any glaring misplays that you saw? Apart from stuff like, you know, keeping cards to dagger when I was on a Codex of Frailty, stuff like that, obviously, right? That's stupid, but I think I probably should have tried to keep more powers, like more power cards in deck, like more of my 6 power attacks in deck. and then maybe prioritize attacking with those a little bit more, right? Just because they have to double block it, like 2-card block it, basically. Yeah, like 55-45 sounds about right, yeah. I'd say, yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable, yeah. So, let's see here. Let me just, where is my, that does not work. What is this? I wanted to go to February. Here we go. That is the one, yes. Very nice. So just in case anyone's wondering, right, if you haven't checked out the deck, like I said, the reasoning for why this deck looks like it does, and it's not really called aggro contracts anymore, because like it's not that anymore, right, is the stream that I did with Tom on Saturday, and we just were kind of trying to find a deck that is like optimized into Prism without giving up points into the other relevant matchups. And this is kind of what we arrived on, right? It's like this mid-rangey, fairly blue-heavy list with like 17 blues, 11 blue stealth cards. Like Wither and Malign is just, you know, you can pick whichever ones you like here. Like this doesn't matter. This could be like, I don't know, it could be anything, right? Could be Sedate. Could be Prowl if you wanted to for some reason, right? It's fine. Like, they don't care. This doesn't really matter which ones you pick here. I think Infect is the best to bring just because Bloodrot is just, you know, it's an on-rate blue or actually above-rate blue if you manage to hit with it. So I think bringing 3 Infect makes sense, and then which other ones you bring is just basically up to you, whatever you want to do, right? We do have, like, the Yellow Pummel, which turned out to be relevant in the Bravo game that we had and turned out to not matter, unfortunately, in the Arachne game just because they had, like, way too many D-reacts. So, like, this is literally the, I think, second or third game that I'm playing with this list. So far it's come up against the Bravo. It was pretty big there. And it didn't matter against the Arachne because they had too many D-reacts and I couldn't line it up with a CNC. But yeah. Yeah, like, I know what Malign does to Prism. I think the problem is actually getting to a point where you can reliably hit them with Malign is just such an edge case, right? Maybe I could drop the Wither for a Malign and it wouldn't be terrible because Wither also doesn't do a whole lot, right? Like, Wither is mostly relevant against warriors right now and they can just Dynamo block this and just not care, right? If it's like the only thing you're sending, they just Dynamo block this and then it's like, whatever. So maybe just going to 2 Malign is like the correct choice. I don't know. Let's see. I think one issue, right, on the topic of Graven Call to kill Prism's wards, right? I was on that specific build, right? Like aggressive contract build with Graven Call. And if you want to run something like that, definitely check out Archon Altar's contract Uzuri list. Fantastic list. Really, really solid plan. The problem with the Prism matchup specifically is that you don't actually make a whole lot of silver into Prism. Because, like, the only reliable silver makers into Prism would be Eradicate, which is kind of hard to fit into lists, right? Then you have like what's it called? Like Annihilate the Armed is pretty solid because like 2/3 of their decks is Heralds, so there's a pretty good chance to hit there. Rob the Rich is pretty good into Prism, and that's kind of it. The problem is the 0-cost contracts against Prism are all bad. Like Plunder the Poor has like, I don't know, some like 10 targets in their list or 12. So they have like Wartune Heralds and then maybe some of the blue auras, and that's kind of it. Leave No Witnesses has basically no targets because they run like 3 reds, 3 to 6 reds, that's it. So that doesn't have any targets. And then all of the other blue, like the other 0 for 4 contracts, you don't typically run those into Prism, or generally in Contract Uzuri, right? Already Dead is okay. It's like, okay. You know, they run a bunch of instants and stuff, so you have like about a quarter of their deck or so is hits, right? That's okay. The main issue is, in my opinion, in the Prism matchup, right? You have to block a whole lot in this matchup, right? Because you need to stop her from getting Heralds to connect. So actually keeping 2 cards is kind of hard. And then sort of like the 1-cost contracts have to line up with your Tunic in order to actually work. And then Already Dead is kind of hard to send unless like it's the only thing in your hand. And then you can use it as a popper sometimes. It's rough. Like, I think my main problem with the matchup is just it's really hard to make silver into Prism just because they force you to play so defensively. I am 100% not going back to Ravenous Rabble. Nope, no way. I think the higher blue count is currently very good in this meta because you need to dagger a lot, and the blues really help you with doing that. And Ravenous Rabble is like, you can't run Rabble with like 17 blues, obviously, but even on 12 blues, Rabble is just kind of inconsistent, right? Like, it's okay if you're like 12 blues, 6 yellows, right? Rabble statistically on average is like 3.5 damage, which is okay. It's pretty good. For a 0-cost card with Go Again, pretty solid. But it's a variance card that gives your opponent information, and I don't like that. That's kind of my issue with it, right? I much prefer looking for a scrap and then building around that, right? With all of the blue stealth cards and then Concealed Blade so you can flick more and to use daggers to turn it on. I like looking for a scrap a lot more than Ravenous Rabble. The main problem I have right now is in this particular list, if I wanted to bring more extenders, it's actually kind of hard. Like, there's not really anything you can bring that makes sense. Ravenous Rabble, obviously, in this list is garbage. I already run the maximum number of looking for a scrap. I run Give and Take, which is kind of mopey, but it is sort of an extender, and it's pretty good in a Guardian matchup. And then I run 3 Codex of Bloodrot, which is a really good extender, actually, right? It's kind of like Rabble when you hit a blue, but it also pitches for yellow and it replaces itself. And then it has like some additional synergy on top of that, because like if your opponent does an Arsenal, you can force them to Arsenal with a Codex of Bloodrot, and then actually your CNC is suddenly threatening. You can Arsenal like a Death Touch if you don't have a stealth card to get it off, and then you can go like Codex of Bloodrot, Tunic, Death Touch as a 2-card hand, which is really strong. You can do stuff like in the late game, just intimidate them, basically put them on a 3-card hand that doesn't block anymore. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do with Codex of Bloodrot. So I really like that in this extender slot that Rebel used to occupy. I think Codex of Bloodrot is a lot worse in like the reaction heavy lists though. Like if you run 9 copies of Shred, I think Codex of Bloodrot gets a lot worse. If you run Plague Hive, Codex of Bloodrot gets worse, you know, stuff like that. Basically, the more cards you have in your deck that you don't want in your arsenal, the worse this card is, essentially, right? Right, so GNT, basically, you kind of have to do the same thing that I did in this game, and then just hope you play against an opponent that is less defensive, essentially, right? GNT, you kind of just pitch it over and over again. You just pitch it, you just pitch it, you just pitch it until your opponent has to block it. So you need to get them down to like 5 or less. I feel like 5 is sort of okay. If you can get them down to 5 and you still have 2 daggers and flick knives up, they have to block it basically, right? Because if they just let it through, you kill them with daggers. You just flick, and then the next turn you do it again. You have to make sure they're out of reaction, so it doesn't work against every deck. It's pretty bad against warriors, for example, right? Because they can just block it with like a, I don't know, Blade Runner, Glint, whatever. And they have a couple of those left in their deck, even when they're in like the sub 10 cards or something. It is really good against Guardian, because typically they do run a bunch of D-Reacts, but they run out of them after first cycle, apart from like maybe Unmovable or something, or like Blue Staunch. But I feel like the majority of Guardian decks that I've run into at the moment are either Victor. Victor is definitely not running like 20 D-Reacts. And like both of the few D-Reacts that they run and like their block cards should be gone by the time you get to second cycle. If they're really good, they can pitch stack some of them, and then you have to go to third cycle, and it's like it gets a bit dicey against Victor. Or they're like some version of Bravo. And I think against Bravo, if they're on like the full-on fatigue build with like a whole bunch of D-Reacts, you just need to dagger a lot, and then you still pitch it over and over again until they run out of D-Reacts. And if you're up against like the mid-range Bravo, they run out of D-Reacts by the time they hit second cycle, and then you can just like G&T loop them. And then it works. Like if they have to block the G&T, it almost doesn't matter where your second G&T is. If it's in your deck, it's fine. If it's in your hand, it's fine. If it's in the graveyard, it's fine. Basically, the only thing you need to have is either G&T or a Codex of Frailty in your graveyard in order for G&T to work, right? You just go G&T, and then they block, and you bring back either a G&T or a Codex, and then you just keep doing that every single turn cycle. And then eventually they die because they run out of cards, or you find some other hand that just means they die because they can't block anymore. So, and then against a lot of other decks, it just either blocks 3 or it's like a shitty extender, but it's still better than not having an extender in that situation, right? That's kind of where I am with this card. So I feel like it's okay. It's not terribly good, but in terms of like value for damage, right? If you know what I mean. It's not crazy in that regard. But in terms of having this sort of insurance card against the like grindy fatigue matchups, I think I like this card a lot. And then it still like blocks 3. Yeah, like I mean, the thing is, right? If you draw it early, right, in like the aggressive matchups, if you run it in your main board, right, against something like a KO, right? And then you draw it early, you just block with it, right? Like it blocks 3. It's fine. Just block with it, right? If you ponder into it in a grindy game, I think it's okay if it's the first one that happens, right? You can kind of just spend the first G&T on, sort of whatever, because it's fine if it's in a graveyard. I think my main issue with that is like you should ideally not ponder early against the grindy decks. I feel it's best to pitch your Codex of Frailties. And then Codex of Bloodrot is kind of okay. You can kind of play that out in the early to mid game, and it's just kind of okay. But Codex of Frailty you should try to save for the second cycle, I think, in the grindy matchup. So into Bravo, I will always pitch my first Codex of Frailty, most likely pitch my second Codex of Frailty, unless I have like a really good hand lined up with it, right? So that's kind of where I am with that. Like you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where you can ponder into a G&T simply because it doesn't happen that much, because you don't play the cards that give you ponder tokens. That's kind of the idea. Right. Cadaverous Contraband. I'm not super high on this card. I know it's kind of cute to play it and then maybe get like a Codex of Frailty back, right? That's a cute play, but it blocks 2. That's like the main issue I have with it. On I could have seen it in the Prism, in the Dromai meta, as like a weird tech card against Dromai, because it does trigger if you hit an ally. But I think that is not relevant enough into Prism, especially because they can actually stop you from getting the on hit if they really want to, as long as they still have Halo up. So yeah, I think that's like not really something I would run personally. I think we have better options to run for like 6 power cards right now, right? There's so okay. Right. So that was my cat. Say hello to Sagan. For the pummel, that's something that I'm testing right now. There's a good chance that's not going to stay in the deck terribly long. I don't know yet. I like pummel into Prism. The idea is that sometimes you can just, you know, pummel them and then they just lose tempo so much. If you watched the beginning of this stream, there was a game against a Bravo that we unfortunately couldn't finish because they timed out, where they had a staunch response in Arsenal. I played a CNC, I pummeled them, and then they just had no place. Like, their turn was just nothing. They blocked my CNC for 6. I played the CNC face up, right? I didn't switch it in. And then I pummeled them, and they couldn't do anything, right? Ideally, you want to line up the pummel with CNC. It's okay if you line it up with like a shakedown. That's also pretty good. But ideally, you do the whole like blue, pitcher blue, CNC, float tunic, pummel, right? That's the line you're going for. Sagan unfortunately just ran out. He just came here, sat on my keyboard for 10 seconds, and then ran out again. Yeah, like limited inventory is definitely an issue, 100%. Right now, there's like so many cards that I'm running that are just tech slots, right? So let's see. I have Orbiter Clast and Spellfray Cloak are tech cards for Kano. I guess Oasis to some extent, but I like to run Oasis into like the full stack matchups. I like it into Azalea. It's actually not a bad card. It's pretty solid. Then Time Skippers obviously is a tech card for Prism. So that's like, currently we're sitting at like 4 slots, right? 3-4 slots that are just like tech slots for matchups that are just kind of bad for us, right? And that you have to respect. But I feel overall like Uzuri's in a decent spot right now. Like the meta's pretty open, which is like not great for her, right? But there's a lot of cards that are kind of impactful right now. For example, like Amnesia, right? Amnesia is just, it blocks 3, which is fantastic. So you get to run another relevant threat that actually blocks 3. It's great into Katsu, obviously. It's great into Prism. If you ever run into Vincent, it's great into them, forces them to block, right? But it also has some fringe relevancy against a couple of other matchups, right? It has fringe relevancy into Hatchet Dory, Kasai, actually KO even. If they were looking to line up a Cast Bones, this kind of blows them out. So it has like these kind of niche little impactful things here and there. And then it's a 6 attack, right? So it's a relevant chunk of damage. And then when it doesn't line up, it just blocks 3. So in that regard, I like it a lot more than something like Humble or Erase Face, right? Because it just blocks 3. So that's pretty good. With as many attacks as the deck has, so Ace is better than Reinforce the Line, considering Kano is already bad. I agree that Kano is bad. But if you don't run Oasis, I think you just throw the Kano matchup. So up to you. If you say that you don't care about that, it's totally reasonable to just go ahead and just throw the Kano matchup. I feel like that's a very relevant thing to do. or like a reasonable thing to do, actually. If you want to throw the Kano matchup and just go, fuck it, I'm not going to care. If I get paired into him, I take the loss. And again, I think this is a reasonable stance to take. I think it's totally fine to do that. You don't need to respect Kano. But if you do, I think you need to run Oasis. If you don't respect Kano, you actually free up a whole bunch of sideboard slots. You can take out Oasis and sub in Reinforce, like you said. Pretty solid switch. You can take out Orbiter Class, just straight up take it out. If you want to keep 4 daggers, you could bring in a second Nerf Scalpel, because you run Conceal Blade, right? And you can take out the Spellfray Cloak and just put in whatever else you want to put in that slot, right? Whole bunch of things. I don't hate Reinforce. It's a good card. I think it's pretty reasonable to run it in this list, like you said, because it's so attack heavy, right? But I am trying to respect Kano because I know there's a couple of pretty good Kano pilots that might come to my PQs. And I don't want to like have an auto loss matchup. I don't think I have a good matchup into Kano for what it's worth. I think that matchup is still pretty bad, to be honest. But I think with this kind of sideboard, I have a fighting chance into like medium Kanos, right? And I can like, if I slightly higher roll, I have a decent chance into good Kanos. That's why I'm playing this sideboard the way I'm playing it, right? So yeah, there's a couple of things you could do with this list if you don't like the style. It is a pretty face-up list, right? That's kind of an issue. This is essentially a list that is like just trying to play the value game. We are running very minimal amounts of reactions. It's just really the Concealed Blade and then 3 copies of Shred, right? 3 yellow shreds. And that's it. That's the reactions in a deck. So you need to be mindful of where you spend those, right? And that definitely does make your grindy matchups a little bit worse, right? So if you like the kind of like reaction style play a little bit more, I think this is probably the wrong deck, right? This deck also doesn't use Uzuri's hero ability a whole lot. We do run 11 stealth cards, but the main game plan is to use those as pitch because they're blues, and as fodder for looking for a scrap, so you just block with them. If you want to use the Uzuri swap more, you want to look at adding in more copies of Isolate, I think. If that's something that you personally enjoy doing, right? This is just, I'm going to keep, grinding out this list a little bit more. But not today. Think I'm going to call it a day here. But I am definitely gonna grind a couple more games on this list over the following couple of days. And probably, if I have the time for it, I'll try to live stream these as well, because this has been pretty fun. And then you guys can come in here and ask me questions and distract me from playing, so I make bad mistakes against Arachne, as one does. All right. So are there any other questions that you have right now before I log out of this? Anybody want to share any like insights from their own games with Uzuri? And obviously, like, the link to this list is down in the description of the VOD, so you can just look that up and play this deck for yourself if you want to. Let me know how it works. Shouldn't brew too much about it. Just enjoy the game. Yeah, that's a very good call out. Honestly, don't blame us for your skill diff. Shut up. I will absolutely blame you every single day. You are solely responsible for me losing games. That's my headcanon from now on. Anytime I lose a game, I'll just be like, God damn it, Kidder Fox. But yeah, like, actually, just enjoying the game is a very good shout out. Like, generally, I think that's something that needs to be said more often. Like, don't beat yourself up if you lose, right? It's fine. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, it's a game. You're trying to have fun, right? at the point where you're not having fun with the game anymore, if you're not getting paid for it, stop doing it, right? Don't treat it as a job, basically. It's fine to put time into it, right? Like we all like to put time into our hobbies, obviously, but the moment you start getting like salty about the game and start, not liking it, I think that's the point where you should consider like just taking a break from it, right? If you find that you're not enjoying the game anymore, just take a break, right? I think that's the best thing anyone can do. It's just recognize when something is like taking up too much mental load and then just taking a step back and chilling a little bit. So for me, I still love playing this game. It's the most fun I've had in ages playing, I think, any game actually, whether it's a TCG or anything else. So I'll definitely be here for the foreseeable future, feeding you assassin content. And yeah, I'm definitely very, very curious about Part the Mistveil, like what that's gonna bring. I cannot wait to see some actual assassin spoilers and then see what cards we get from that set. And I hope there's a couple of cards that are gonna be good for Uzuri. Because I do plan on playing this deck a bunch more, even if we get a new assassin. Just because she's so much fun and such a flexible deck, and you can build her in so many ways. And I think the fact that Nu is a talented hero is gonna make her deck building a lot more restrictive in terms of what types of deck you can play. And I think Uzuri is going to stay the most flexible assassin. So is Uzuri underpowered? Right. So yes and no, I guess. I don't think Uzuri is a top tier deck right now. I personally don't think Uzuri can ever be a top tier deck unless they really screw up the balance. Because the way that she works means if she is actually a very strong deck that is setting the pace, she's going to be extremely oppressive and obnoxious to play against. And I think that Brian Gottlieb especially is trying to prevent the game from doing that. I think Uzuri is in a pretty good spot right now with Dromai being gone. I do think that she is currently lacking a matchup in the meta that is like inherently favored for her. The way she had Lexi, right? For example. I think back in the Lexi meta, right? Even though we had a bunch of matchups that were really bad for us, right? You had like Oldhim at some point when he was still legal, right? You had Icelander, you had aggro rune blades like Viserai wasn't a great matchup when he still had Rosetta. Briar was like okay-ish at best, I think, if they knew what they were doing. Then you had Dromai, of course, was still around, right? And all of those matchups were pretty bad for Uzuri, but all of that got kind of cancelled or balanced out by the fact that you had Lexi as like the best deck in the format by a large margin, and we were the best deck in the format against Lexi, right? And the thing is, currently, I think we don't have this like best deck, right? That we're really good against. That's definitely not a thing. But I also think that the floor has been raised quite a bit, right? So the ceiling has been lowered, but the floor has been raised. And we're kind of in this like middle area now, where Uzuri is just solid against a whole lot of decks. Like not favored, just like solid 50-50, 45-55, something like that, right? Maybe slightly unfavored, maybe slightly favored, maybe just really even. And player skill makes the difference, right? And that's kind of what I like about her, is that she rewards really knowing your lines, knowing your matchups, knowing what other heroes can bring, right? Stuff like that. And if you really put in the time, I think she can give you pretty good results. But she's definitely not one of the top decks in the meta that other people are going to build around, right? I was talking to Max Klein the other day, the guy who just went second at the Pro Tour with his Hatchet Dory deck, and he said he has like 0 reps into Uzuri on that list, just because he didn't consider it to be a relevant threat at the PT. And I guess the results kind of proved him right. So that was a good call on his part. But I think Uzuri is still not being taken entirely serious by like pro players, however you want to define that, what makes somebody a pro player. And I personally think that that's one of her biggest advantages, because you do have a good chance of running into people that are going to make fundamental mistakes into you just because they're not experienced with the matchup. Which I think is definitely one. It's like the underdog thing, right? Like every game has these like underdog characters, and then if you really know what you're doing with them, you have an inherent advantage because your opponent is going to have less reps into you than you have into them. And I think that's where Uzuri shines, and that's where she's getting her points. Is like being able to just skill gap people in matchups that would otherwise be like fairly evenly balanced, and you just win on the skill difference. I still think there's a bunch of matchups that are just inherently bad for us right now, like Kano for sure. I think Prism is kind of bad if they know what they're doing and you're not bringing the tech. Prism is pretty bad for sure. If anybody ever brings Iris Prism, I think that's really bad for you. You can kind of sort of fatigue them sometimes, but overall it's a pretty horrible matchup. And yeah, like the Brutes can just kind of high roll you. That can happen. Azalea can high roll you. That can happen, right? Like anybody can get high rolled. I think if you get high rolled by like a KO or a Levia or like a Reiner even, I think the fact that you chose to play Uzuri doesn't really change that. Like if you get high rolled by like a double Blood Rush 27 damage turn, and they get to set up like perfect cast bones every single time that they play it, I think you lose with like every hero in the game. I don't think that matters. Like if you get high rolled, I don't think that's data that's valuable for you, unless you dislike getting high rolled. And in that case, I think you should play a different deck. Because one of the issues with Uzuri is that it's a fairly low variance deck overall, which means that you also don't have a big chance of high rolling other people, right? They can low roll, and then that kind of feels like you high rolled, but it's really just them drawing badly and you capitalizing on their bad variance, right? There is some variance. Obviously, it's a card game, right? Like if you don't see your extenders early against the matchups that are like, where you need to be aggressive, that's bad, right? If you don't see your disruption against the matchups where you need the disruption, that's bad, that kind of stuff, right? But I think like fundamentally the ceiling of what you can do with an Uzuri turn is like kind of capped, right? And the ceiling of what you can do with other decks has a much higher cap on it, right? There are definitely some high rolls with Uzuri, don't get me wrong, right? You can assemble some pretty gnarly turns sometimes, right? But you're not hitting you're not hitting KO levels of damage, right? You're not hitting like Brute levels or like a Prism combo turn high roll levels of damage. That just doesn't happen, right? With Uzuri. You can do stuff like looking for a scrap, floating to, and then you go like isolate, death touch, break boots, into Codex CNC, right? Stuff like that. As a 4-card hand, that's pretty stupid. Because that's like what is that? That's 8, 13, 19 damage plus disruption. It's pretty solid, right? But that's like really the upper limit of what you can do with Uzuri in terms of like raw numbers, right? And obviously, if you're going in terms of raw numbers, there's a lot of decks out there that can beat you. Like Katsu just getting 40 damage turns out of nowhere, stuff like that, right? So that happens, right? And there's not much you can do to prevent that, right? If you get high rolled, you get high rolled. That's just the nature of the game. But I think if you choose to just go and adopt like a mind state that's like, right, if I get high rolled, it's all right. Nature of the game. Scratch it off, go for the next one, fine. And then you just try to play every game where you don't get high roll to the best of your abilities. I think Uzuri's in a pretty good spot right now. And I think you can probably pretty easily at least top 8 something like a PQ and then potentially win it maybe. I don't know if I would say she has the worst numbers in the meta. But they're pretty bad for sure, yeah. I'm actively trying to think of a deck that has worse numbers than Uzuri, actually, in terms of, like, raw value. Yeah, I'm not really... I'm kind of coming up blank, to be honest. I don't think there's any deck in the game right now that really has worse numbers. Like, Arachne definitely has better numbers, just because he has so many breakpoints and all of his attacks, all of their attacks, are actually on rate. If we're talking about, let's see, we go talking about heroes here. What do we have? Like Arachne, better numbers. Azalea. Azalea actually doesn't have terribly good numbers. She just converts them pretty well because of Dominate, right? But she has a whole bunch of like 0 for 3s that block too. Like head jabs are not how you win the game mostly. So her numbers are actually not crazy, but Dominate really makes them pretty solid, right? Betsy has okay numbers. Bravo too. It's a Guardian, right? So the numbers are kind of like okay-ish. Not terribly efficient, but they're fine. Both dashes have like inherently on-rate attacks with Go Again, so that's great. Dory has like okay numbers. I think the Axis has pretty good numbers. Dawnblade has like not great numbers, but makes up for it by being reaction based, so that's fine. Ninjas have good numbers. Kano has terrible numbers, but multiplicative damage, so that evens out. Kasai kind of the same as for Dory, right? Weapons-based decks tend to have pretty decent numbers. Katsu goes for the ninja. The brutes obviously have great numbers. That's all they're caring about. Max, solid. Olympia, warrior again. Prism is insanely above rate if you can't shut her down. Riptide has bad numbers offensively, but he gets extra damage from the traps, so it kind of evens out. Bolton, warrior. Tekla has terrible numbers early game. And then he ramps up and he gets good numbers. Tekla might be kind of tied with Uzuri, to be honest. Just they kind of spread it out in a different way, right? Victor is basically a brute. Viserai is inherently above rate because of his hero ability. And then Vincent has like not the greatest numbers either, to be honest, between the bullet depth and everything. But she can make very impactful, like low rate plays with very small hand sizes, so that's pretty good. So yeah, like I think most decks currently in the meta have better numbers than Uzuri, but I don't think any deck in the meta right now has as much low to the ground disruption as Uzuri can bring, and that's kind of her thing, right? Is like being able to keep 1 or 2 cards and then actually playing something that you need to respect, that you need to block because you're losing cards if you don't. That's kind of Uzuri's strength. That's always been her strength, really. And to kind of loop back around, right, to what like Cardfight King was saying earlier, that Uzuri feels a little bit underpowered. I think one thing with Uzuri is that essentially since she came out, she hasn't really gotten anything that feels like it's a powerful card for her playstyle. We've gotten Already Dead, and that's pretty okay. Like, Already Dead's pretty solid. Strong card. On-rate assassin attack, blocks 3. On-hit is actually relevant into a bunch of matchups right now. Good card, right? But Already Dead is not disruption. Already Dead is not like a power card, right? It's not something like a Shakedown or a CNC where you go, right, you need to block this or else. And then we got like Ravenclaw, which is fine, but I think Uzuri doesn't really have the silver generation to fully support it. That's why I'm off it at the moment. And like even Arachne doesn't run it at the moment, like, or at least TCG Talk doesn't run it in his Arachne list, right? Just because he says like the silver gen is more important to put into other stuff, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, I think Uzuri could use one more powerful disruptive card. But at the same time, I think they have to be really careful with that, because if she gets too many of those, she runs the risk of becoming really oppressive. So it would need to be like a power card, like a disruptive card that is always online. Like, I mean, I kind of get the Arachne pandering, because let's be real, right? Like, every assassin card that we have gotten since Outsiders has been an Arachne card, basically. I mean, Shriek Raise is just kind of like a whatever card, but if it's run anywhere, you would run it in Arachne, not in Uzuri. And people still consider Uzuri to be better than Arachne. And I think rightfully so. She's not much better. I think we're talking some like 45, 55 here. I think Arachne is like really close behind in terms of like what they can do. But I do think Uzuri is currently still slightly better than Arachne, despite Arachne getting like 3 to 4 cards, depending on how you evaluate it. And Uzuri getting straight up nothing, right? And she's still better. And she's still not actually a top meta deck, right? So yeah, I could definitely see Uzuri getting something in Mistveil. Either maybe even Uzuri spec. I could see that. I could see her just getting like some kind of reaction, some kind of stealth card maybe that has like a relevant hit effect, something. I don't know. Interesting stealth cards, that's a good point. So I do think there's a lot of space for Uzuri to get something from this set. And I'm definitely very curious to see what that's going to be, right? So yeah. But yeah, with that, I think I'll tap out for today. This has been going on for like 2.5 hours now, and it's like almost 10 o'clock, and I still need to eat something. So yeah, thanks guys for sticking around while I ramble on about assassins and their place in the meta. I promise you, I'm not gonna start doing tier lists. That's not gonna happen. Don't worry about that. I'm also not gonna start doing pack openings unless you start suddenly really wanting that, and then I might consider it. But like, that's not something I'm gonna do by myself. So yeah, thanks again to Ryan for the massive donation in the middle there. Like, what's going on? Love you, mate. That was amazing, really good. And yeah, I'm not making tier list. Uzuri is S tier. Everybody else sucks. That's it. There you go. Tier list. We're done. That's all the tier lists you're getting from me. Riptide is meta now. Play Riptide, everybody. Prism sucks and Kano sucks. They're F tier. Don't play them. You heard it here first. Please listen to me. I'm important. I'm a content creator. You need to listen to my opinions. All right. No. Yeah. So I'm gonna head out for today. Probably see you at some point in the future. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know yet. I'll let you know in the Discord before I start streaming. Maybe with a little bit more of a heads up than I did today. That was kind of like a spontaneous decision. But yeah. Gonna see you around. All right. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good morning, whatever time it is where you are right now, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.